The Amistad Ship Rebellion of 1839 is a story of African American slaves who fought for their freedom. However, while Steven Spielberg's movie Amistad appears to be an account of African American history, in actuality it is a story of white success and white innocence, depicted alongside the portrayal of black primitiveness, unintelligence, and savagery. Amistad fails to represent black agency. Instead, it portrays whites as heroes in the salvation of black slaves. The theme of the white man's success and the black man's lack of agency in the fight for the slave's freedom is prominent throughout the movie. The first way in which the movie exhibits this theme is through the fact that there is nothing shown about the agency of the black slaves that allowed for the success of the Amistad Rebellion. As we learned in Jesse Lemish's article, Black Agency in the Amistad Uprising, there was actually a lot of intelligent thought and planning that went into the rebellion on Amistad. However, the movie portrays the slaves on the ship as using animal propensities rather than intellectual faculties to rebel against the slave traders. The scene of the rebellion only lasts a few minutes at the beginning of the movie, creating a false image of this rebellion as being sudden, animalistic desire for violent vengeance. The brevity of the rebellion scene ignores the true presence of black agency behind the rebellion. Lemish states the problem perfectly. As part of the process of reducing the rebellion in this way, Spielberg makes it into an unpremeditated outburst without planning or prior route in events on shipboard. The effect of this is to ignore the intelligence behind the uprising and to focus instead on what thus appears to be instinctual and stereotypically animalistic behavior.
Well, the Spanish government hopes you don't have a whole lot more common sense than that, and I'll tell you why. This case isn't about murder.
This theme is also made especially prominent through the character of Baldwin, the white lawyer, who makes intellectual arguments for the slaves' freedom, while the black slaves sit chained up on the side. This depicts the white man as their savior, who fights their intellectual arguments for them, and the black man is depicted as helpless and irrelevant.
Open your mouth. Of course, he doesn't understand what I'm saying because he doesn't speak English. Abra su boca. Doesn't he understand that? I thought he was born on a Cuban plantation. That's what they're all saying.
Perhaps he simply just doesn't like you, Mr. Baldwin.
Well, he wouldn't be the first, Mr. Halliburton.
The third major contributor to this theme of white success and the black man's lack of agency is shown in this scene where Sinke and Yamba are reading a picture Bible, and somehow they immediately understand Jesus to be a savior and a liberator, which is also what the white men of this movie, specifically Baldwin and John Quincy Adams, are portrayed as, liberators and heroes.
Yemia, go, ke, follow Hatogima in Dagby. B, ta jama anunga tabao. Atima vele.
Give us free. Give us free. Give us.
Though Spielberg depicts black unintelligence and lack of agency in Amistad, these scenes contradict this idea slightly, but significantly in a white courtroom. First, Sinke understands enough English to shout, "Give us free." Then, John Quincy Adams wins the court case but claims he used Sinke's words. Though black agency was shown briefly, white heroism and significance is still reinforced in these courtroom scenes.
What did you say to them?
Huh?
What words did you use to persuade them?
Yours. I need you to tell me how you got here.
Nyalungo bihunge angesia. Who phony be?
Another aspect of this movie, which makes it a white man's story, is the portrayal of white innocence. One way in which white innocence is depicted in Amistad is through Cinque's flashback of how he got to America from Africa. Throughout his flashback, we only see native Africans capturing other Africans to sell to the Spaniards as slaves, and throughout the Middle Passage, we only see Spaniards portrayed as brutal slave traders, never white Americans of British descent. White innocence in Amistad is also created through the image of the black body. Cinque keeps up a muscular physique throughout the movie, and this muscular and strong stature is especially emphasized on the slave ship. The upheld great condition of Cinque's body is a method by which the myth of white innocence is created because it denies the true nature of the slave trade, which Robert Conrad reveals the horrors of in his article, The Slave Trade. If the movie were historically accurate, it would have been impossible for Cinque and the other slaves to uphold their muscular figures, so by portraying them in this way, the movie excuses whites from the brutality they exerted on blacks during the slave trade, specifically during the process in which the slaves are brought from capture to the ship. In his book review of the Amistad Rebellion, Marcus Rediker also raises these arguments about the black body regarding the health and strength portrayed in the slave characters and how they contradict or downplay the intense suffering endured on the slave ship.
All clear, sir.
Fire.
The final way in which this movie fosters white innocence is by blaming the country's past on African Americans. It emphasizes that African Americans are at fault for the disunion that was caused between the North and the South, which led to the Civil War. The ending scenes of the movie, depicting the freeing of slaves and the killing of the slave traders, are interspersed with scenes of the Civil War. This symbolizes the freeing of the slaves as the cause of disunion between the North and the South. The historical inaccuracy of Steven Spielberg's co-optation of this famous slave ship rebellion story was an intentional effort to distort an account of African American history into a story of white success. Through the storyline and visuals throughout the movie, Spielberg successfully illustrates white superiority and heroism, resubordinates blacks, and blames them for the disunion of America.